Hello everybody and welcome to episode 4 of the GG Chronicles. Today we have the lovely Christopher.
Hey.
And the lovely Graham.
Hello.
I hope you all enjoyed our last podcast, which was a special on The Last of Us. Remember, you can still go and listen to that if you want. There'll be links on our Facebook and our Twitter. Twitter handle, of course, is at GG Chronicles, and you can find us on Facebook by just searching for the GG Chronicles. So, if you wanted to comment on that, please do. We'll love the feedback, so keep giving us it, please.
That was a good one, the Last of Us and GTA 5.
Yeah, it was got some good feedback, but I appreciate everybody who listened, and hopefully you enjoy this one as much as well. But we're going to start off with talking about some the films we've all seen recently. The one that strikes me first, probably Pacific Rim, which just came out I think 2 weeks ago. So we've all seen that. So I'll probably hand over to Graham and see what he thought of Pacific Rim.
Straight off the bat, generally loved it. Came out with thinking entertained start to finish, looked incredible. I think the main thing that kind of separated it from many other kind of generic action films that maybe seem similar to it and like they just shove big budget explosions at it was the fact that some of the characters were actually interesting and you felt like more involved in characters and you thought, I wonder what's going to happen to this person or that person, and it made, rather than it just look amazing, it had a good story behind it as well. And
see, I don't know, because a lot of folk have said that I was like, I wasn't really expecting this much emotion and stuff, and
I wasn't that much emotional.
I actually thought the acting wasn't particularly strong. Like, that's not that it was bad.
There was some bad performances,
but there were some people that I just thought.
Ron Perlman was amazing.
I loved Ron Perlman. I know you didn't. I loved him in it.
He was alright.
Small character in it, to be fair, but his character was brilliant.
It was quite cool, definitely, but obviously Idris Elba was the coolest.
Sorry, obviously. It goes
hands down. It was never going to be anybody else.
But
should have been in it more.
I don't know. I thought the acting was alright. It looked, like you say, it looked incredible.
I don't think there's a film that could ever look better than it in a way, because it's the sort of thing that, you know, you're watching something that's not real, but it feels and looks so real. Like
there was weight to the big role. It didn't feel flim. It didn't feel CGI. Like you felt them.
I know it felt like they made the physical models at that size. It looked that amazing to me. It really, really couldn't speak it any higher up for how it looks. But it's obviously, I know what you're saying about the acting and stuff like that. It's not quite going to match up to a complete character piece where that's all it focuses on. I think my point was really just to say that for the type of film it was better in that way than I expected it to be.
I suppose it's maybe your expectations. If you weren't expecting, if you're expecting it just to be all action and not like much else, then I suppose you might be surprised at the attempt at emotion. But I just didn't really feel that. I thought it slowed down at bits with a kind of very heavy-handed attempt at making you trying to care about
the Japanese girl with the
certain characters and stuff. Well, just all of them really.
When she was, because she got. I don't want to get into spoiler territory for anybody who hasn't seen it, but
yeah, but it sounds like I pure hate the film, but I just like to be kind of objective. I don't want to be a pure rabid fanboy. But I thought it was brilliant, and I thought I had such a big.
A big smile.
A big smile. I don't know what I was going to say.
A big nose.
I know. I don't know why I paused there. I had such a big cheesy grin on my face when the fighting was happening. I just thought, this is so cool, man. Like using a big oil tanker thing or a big ship as a weapon. I just thought that's so cool. Like it totally didn't hold back. You know, like. Cities were getting flattened pretty much in these fights, and I just thought it was brilliant.
The creature design of the kaijus and of the Jaegers were both amazing. Like
a missed opportunity for product placement on the Jaegers. I wanted to see a walking bottle of Jaeger as a Jaeger.
They were talking online about like the t-shirt websites like T-Fury and that. They have to get in like doing obviously a Jägermeister, Jaeger Pacific Rim kind of spin-off t-shirt, which I'm sure they will do if it hasn't already been made.
It's definitely, that will happen.
I liked them that much. I went and bought one of the toys. Do
you know, actually I was looking in Forbidden Planet as well at the toys.
They didn't have much. They only had the Crimson Typhoon one.
Oh really?
So I got that. It still looks cool, and you can. That's just cool.
I was wanting to get the toys from it, like again any kind of Jaeger and then a big kaiju as well, just to have standing quite big kind of freestanding ones.
I know.
But
I wanted
always
both,
be dead
but
expensive.
Nah, was it £18 for one? It's just kind
For
of
just a
5,
small
6
one.
I think it's the kind of merch that would be brilliant. I think
it does look pretty detailed, and it's brilliant, and it's all movable. You can move all your limbs that are articulated, and that's so you can move it. I've got it on my unit.
That's really cool. No, I definitely fancy getting the toys to do with that. That's one thing that I don't normally care about at all.
So then,
definitely not.
So Pacific Rim, then Graham, you would say that you would.
What would you rate it out of 10?
Do you think we should probably start ratings?
What would you say out of 10? What would you give it?
It's very hard to be put on the spot after not
here
thinking
we
about it.
Just I'll say
Ian, what would you give
I
it
gave
out
it
of
on IMDb. I said a 9. I was thinking back, I probably wouldn't, but I think that was just my gut reaction when I came out of it.
But I think that's the best
how much
reaction I take.
It wasn't a 9.
No, that's not an objective reaction. That's not an objective. You're not taking the movie, assessing everything that's in it, and then giving it a realistic score. You're going, oh my god, giant robots and giant monsters. Give it a 9. You're not really.
I was going to say an 8 anyway.
I was going to go back.
To be fair, I would have given it an 8.
Aye. If I was going back, I'd
solid
give it an
8.
A solid 8 all round.
After thinking about it, I'd be like, nah, it's definitely.
Because a 9's saying.
So we actually all agree.
Huh?
I all agree on 8.
Quite
That's
short.
really bizarre, actually.
8 out of 10. Boom. What's next?
Rolling to the next one.
Next film, World War Z. I know it was a wee bit older, but it's been out for maybe 3-4 weeks now.
You can still go in and see it in the cinema.
I only seen it last week as well. At the same time, I seen it just before.
So it is still current, and people have had a lot of opinions of it even before it was released because
it was getting panned a lot before people even seen anything of it.
And understandably so, because it had quite a troubled development, and you got to imagine any film that's huge star like Brad Pitt with a massive budget to go through such a big change, and there was like reshoot, script problems.
It changed the ending. They totally rewrote the ending and reshot it.
What do you know what the original ending? Is it a bit spoilery? It's quite old now.
I'll say it. Most people have seen it.
What was the original ending?
The original ending was that they'd shot a whole sequence. There's footage shot of where he goes to Russia.
Do you know that's weird because I remember in the trailer.
That's in the trailer.
There's something about he mentions the Kremlin. Or something like that.
So he spends a lot of time there, and then.
So why did they change it?
They didn't find the cure, so he ends up trying to go home and find. So the ending is him travelling across Russia and getting on a boat to go home, and the end was supposed to not show him getting home.
So they thought it was
they thought it was a bit of a bland ending, which I agree. See, actually, thinking after hearing that, I'm glad they reshot it.
That's weird that it's such a radically different ending.
That's because they'd done a test screen and then. The ending isn't good enough, so that's why they brought in Damien Lindelof. And
I think
that's quite weird, actually.
I think that's quite a cool thing for any film to do. It is really brave.
I thought the last half hour was one of the strongest parts of it. I loved the last half hour.
I would actually disagree there. I thought
I loved the last half hour.
It kind of played its strongest parts a bit too early. And I think at the end it kind of slowed down a bit too much.
I liked that slow.
But I did like the kind of tension of them creeping through the facility and stuff like that.
That was really cool.
I do kind of think that it maybe went a wee bit too slow. And then I thought it was... My overall problem with it was the lack of violence.
Where's the violence?
Well, I'm not like I'm a pure torture porn fiend where I need my movies to be soaked in blood, but...
And tits.
No, whatever, man.
No.
But you're dealing with zombies, like, and I don't really care how you interpret zombies. Like, a lot of people hate running zombies. You know, they prefer the kind of the shuffling, kind of slow zombies. But zombies are zombies. Like, they eat human flesh.
Well, they're made up in the first place, so they can be whatever you want them to be.
That's not real.
Yeah,
an absolutely valid point.
But however, they do say in the film that you see them eating people. And you see implied violence, but the camera always conveniently cuts away, and it just seems dead. It seems really obvious. Like it seems like they're obviously trying to pull away from the violence, and then the zombies were like, see the end zombie, like that guy with the teeth. Everybody was laughing. I was thinking you shouldn't be laughing at that. Like
that's not a fault. I didn't laugh either. It's an audience, because I agree.
But I've went to see it twice, because I went with you, and then my sister and my dad wanted to go, and I went with them, and the audience laughed there. It's the way it's made. It wasn't horrifying. it was just it did seem funny, and I think it's the way it was made. Oh, I just hit that. The way it was made. I didn't like the way they kind of went about the whole zombie thing, but I loved that they focused on the volume, the sheer amount of them.
Because that's something
on
that's
screen
very different.
Is very different. Yeah,
and the set pieces were again absolutely incredible. I thought
the bit where they're climbing over that wall, like where they're just piling into each other to gradually get up that wall, I thought was really cool.
And the scene on the plane when they were
the plane bit was cool.
The plane bit was insane for me. That was probably my favourite bit. Like really tense, and a plane enemy. I mean, you can't get on a plane. You're scared of flying, which I can understand.
I can go on a plane, but I just fucking hate it.
It's a rational fear. So to put like the situation of like imminent death, whether your plane's going to crash, the zombies are going to eat you or whatever, doing that on a plane, I think a plane's a great scene for a kind of film of any kind to do something. I think it pulled off really well.
Yeah.
And again, I went into World War Z with really low expectations. Because of what had happened, and I then came out of it way more surprised than I thought I was going to be, and I would say I really enjoyed it. Not incredible, not flawless by any means, but
totally not worth.
There was quite a lot of flaws in it.
Not worth seeing it in 3D.
No, I didn't go in 3D.
I'm hard pushed to think of any films. I don't.
Pacific Rim was really a good 3D film.
That was good 3D actually. It's really good.
It was good, but didn't need it.
I thought
benefited from it.
Think so?
Aye.
I think bits it did, and bits it
definitely it benefited from it. Definitely, just for the kind of not necessarily stuff flying out at you, but the depth. But anyway, we've talked about Pacific Rim.
By the way, I know.
So you're saying that Ian, that you thought there were quite a few flaws.
There's just the plane bit as well. As cool as it was, the two most important characters are the only survivors of that plane.
Yeah, that's.
I was like, right, okay. It's just a fact.
It happens in a lot of films.
You do. I totally agree with the point, but
it didn't bother me at the time. But I think back, I was like,
because thinking about it now, he wakes up in this mangled heap of metal, and he's like, "Oh right," and he is slightly injured, but everyone else is just corpses.
And
it's like decimated.
Yeah, they're all dead.
It's not even like there's like
there's not even bodies lying.
But it's that magnificent head of hair that he has. He's got
protected them.
Quite a spectacular haircut.
And like Brad Pitt's somebody who has always talked about for his looks, and to be fair, he's a good looking guy. I can't blame people for that, but he's an actor to me that has always been really solid, and he is a
great actor, and he's not bad.
He's alright.
He puts his. I mean, again, he's obviously super rich, super famous, but he puts a lot of his own effort and money and time into, like, that was his production company, like Plan B.
Yeah.
And,
not the rapper.
Not the rapper, definitely not the rapper, thankfully. But again, I admire him for that, and he makes a good film, and he makes films that he wants to see. He doesn't. Studios don't buy him. He puts his own ideas out, and I think. So again, I was quite surprised on it.
So anyway,
ratings.
If we're doing the scores, Ian, what would you give it?
6.
Graham?
7.
I think I'd actually fall in the middle. I think I'd probably go for about a 6.5.
That's cheating. No,
are we doing 0.5s? This is a newly established system, so
no, you got to pick one.
I'd probably lean more to a 6. If I'm giving Pacific Rim an 8, then that is most definitely a 6.
Right, cool. So a 6, 6, 7.
An enjoyable. It's not to say it's bad. It's an enjoyable film.
I just thought it was a bit boring.
It's a wasted use of a 15 as well. How is that a 15?
I have no idea.
How is that rated 15?
I've seen stronger stuff in 12 years. Much stronger.
Yeah, it needs to be more violent.
I think the rating system.
There wasn't even swearing in
it. The rating system's a topic in its own to discuss, but it's bizarre how some films can get classified as 12s when you think how.
Anyway, so Ian, what other films?
I think we all went to see The World's End. Was it last week?
Yeah, I went. When did we go?
Was it not the date come out on the Friday?
You just went on the Friday. I went on the Saturday morning.
That's right.
So for those who don't know, what's World's End?
The World's End's the kind of the final film in the Cornetto trilogy by Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg. That's the films they wrote. So they wrote Shaun of the Dead, and obviously Edgar Wright directed it. And the same with Hot Fuzz, they wrote and Edgar Wright directed that. So this is their kind of final film where they kind of pay kind of homage to the films that they like.
Because it's not an official trilogy, is it?
It's not a trilogy where the stories or any characters.
It is a trilogy, but it's not
a linked trilogy.
It's not like much like I don't know. I can't think of any other trilogy that isn't actually directly linked.
It's a trilogy of films that they wanted to make to pay homage to their kind of the films that they love. So the first one was a kind of a zombie film, a comedy as well, mixed together. The second one was kind of a buddy cop movie that they took a take on that they loved. And
see, I think this is where it could get
spoilerish,
quite controversial because
with this
Ian, what were your kind of thoughts before we talk about the World's End? What were your thoughts about Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz?
Loved Shaun of the Dead and I loved Hot Fuzz. I loved both of them. Brilliant. I loved that.
So now
loved both of them.
Let's pass over to Graham. Graham, what were your thoughts on Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz?
Both hugely overrated.
Fucking ball bag.
Dick. Feel free to everybody to comment on Facebook and slag the utter fuck it.
please do. Like, in serious though, I'm curious
to see what people think.
Me and my friend Reedy, I randomly talked about before having seen The World's End. Talked about it with him about the other two films, and I'm surprised totally agreed with me. He thought the first two are by no means bad films in any shape, way or form, but totally agreed that they were overrated. And I thought, well, that's cool that somebody else thought that.
Well, what do you mean by overrated? I mean, what would you say you were to give a rating to Shaun of the Dead right now? What would you give it? This newly established system's coming in strong, man. So what would you give the Shaun of the Dead?
7.
See, that's
still a good rating.
That's pretty good.
But that's what I'm saying.
He's saying it's overrated because
I think he thinks that everyone else would give it a 10. Like, I wouldn't.
I would give it a 9, but
I'd probably give it about an 8.
9 for me.
A hugely enjoyable film.
But to me, it's like that was my point when you say they're overrated. But that I suppose brings me back to the whole point of the films, because I think they're a set of films, all three of them individually and as a trilogy, if you like. I mean, people who don't know us, who just kind of saw us and witnessed us, they would expect all three of us to love that film because it expected, I think, of certain people to like it, which I can understand because.
But that shouldn't make you dislike it.
But I'm just saying it's overrated, though. I don't dislike it for that reason.
Right, okay, fine.
That's my kind of general point. And when I give it, like I say, a 6 or a 7, that's a higher than average score. So it isn't to say that I hate them.
Well, I would give it an 8. So it's not as if.
I would give Hot Fuzz a lesser rating though.
So would I. I definitely. You wouldn't.
No, I'd give it a 9 as well.
You rate both as good as you are.
I definitely think Hot Fuzz is weaker than Shaun of the Dead.
See, I would agree with that.
But maybe it's just because I love the subject more. Shaun of the Dead. I personally lean more towards horror.
But you could say
and I like zombie movies, so I would maybe find Shaun of the Dead more appealing than I would Hot Fuzz.
But you could say the same for me. I like sci-fi more than I do buddy cop movies, but I enjoyed Hot Fuzz more.
So technically, you should lean towards the World's End.
I should lean towards it, but I enjoyed Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead a little more.
Well, okay. Speaking about World's End, then.
Aye.
Since you've touched on it, so what?
The premise of it is kind of. I don't want to give too much away, but it is sci-fi. Because you know the first one zombies and second one body cop. This one's.
The trailer does show you that there's something.
You know that it's weird.
It's not quite what it
seems.
I
only seen the first kind of teaser. I didn't see any other trailers for it, and then I went in to see it. So I didn't. I had an idea. I thought it would be what it was. So I kind of knew already. But premise was a bunch of mates. I think there's 6 of them, isn't there? 6 mates? 5 mates. So it's Simon Pegg and Nick
5.
Frost,
yeah, it's 5. Yeah.
Paddy Considine,
Eddie Marsan,
and Martin Freeman.
Martin
Freeman as well. They're a group of teenagers who were friends throughout school from this town, and they all grew up, but Simon Pegg looks like the only one that's not grew up, and they tried to go on this legendary pub crawl to reach, what was it, I think, was it 12 pubs? 12 pubs, I think, was it? 10 pubs, 12 I can't remember. It's a lot of pubs anyway.
I was like 60 pints, so it was 12 pubs, 5 guys.
A pint in each pub. That's terrible, man. That the maths.
I know.
Just butchered here.
I'm definitely not good at maths, but it was them. They tried to reach the World's End, which is the final pub in the big kind of route of pubs they wanted to go to, but they didn't when they were young. The Simon Pegg character, for some unknown reasons, desperate to do it, while the rest of them have grew up and get the kind of jobs. He's the only one that hasn't, so he tries to get them all back together to go on this kind of legendary pub crawl again. So they get together and then they go on it and weird stuff starts to occur.
See, I found it quite. I mean, like, obviously you really enjoyed it, but you were saying you found it slightly weaker than the other two.
Yeah, I thought.
I'm curious.
It wasn't as funny as the other two.
I would agree that
it wasn't there wasn't as many jokes in it and stuff. I think it was supposed to be a wee bit more serious. I don't know.
See, it's very hard to talk about without spoiling it because there's one thing.
So it's better to go in being surprised by things that happen.
There's one thing in particular because I was slightly annoyed by it up until a certain point. Well, no, sorry, there was a bit where I became quite annoyed with it. Because I kind of thought, nah, you wouldn't do this. You wouldn't keep doing this. But then...
Oh, because weird stuff happens, but Simon Pegg is adamant he wants to get through his pubs. But any other normal person would just get the fuck out of there.
You'd be gone, and I thought this is ridiculous. That this wouldn't actually happen.
And that was one thing.
That was a good payoff at the end.
And that's what made it quite strong for me, was that it wasn't just a kind of like throwaway kind of just.
It wasn't a MacGuffin just put in there just to kind of.
It wasn't just
patch it up just to say, "Wow, this is."
I felt like they actually backed up with something substantial, and I think, like you say, if that's why you loved the first two, I can absolutely understand why you would then be disappointed slightly by this. But for the reason that maybe I'm not as keen in the first two, I actually felt like I came out of really enjoying the World's End, and I was
I think the World's End actually could be the strongest out of the three in terms of having like an overall message. I know it sounds stupidly deep.
No, I know. I think they were going for it. I think they said specifically they were going for it.
I think it is kind of. I don't know. I think it does a better job of. Because when I left it, I actually did find myself kind of thinking. I know it sounds really stupid because it's not made to do that, but I did find myself thinking, and it is one of those things. I suppose depend on the age that we are just now. Like a lot of your mates are.
It is
grown up.
It is our kind of age. That's
a lot of your mates are grown up,
years,
and then they're having kids, mortgage and stuff like that. And you think, it pure freaks me out and stuff. Then that's why I found his character quite relatable up until a point, because he was a bit of a dick a lot of the time. He was a bit of an arsehole.
I've read up after that's what they wrote him to be.
And then I found him quite relatable in a number of ways as well. So it was, whereas I couldn't have said that about any of the other characters. I mean, ultimately I find Tim like the most relatable character. But I could spend hours talking about Space.
A 3-hour podcast of Space. I think we should do a Space one because I've watched them all again recently and it's just fucking phenomenal.
The cast was brilliant in World's End though. Having like Eddie Martin together, Paddy Considine.
The cast was really strong. The cast have always been good in their films. Even Hot Fuzz, they had loads.
Because obviously Paddy Considine was in that anyway.
And they had Bill Nye. I think Bill Nye was in Shaun of the Dead. And he was on Hot Fuzz as well a wee bit. And Martin Freeman. I think a lot of the characters were all.
Martin Freeman was in Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead as well.
And Michael Smiley was in World's End, and that was like, again, to talk about specifics, as I'm going to put spoilers on there, but you see him for very short glimpse, and I was like, that's brilliant. And he's obviously been in Ben Wheatley's films recently, and he was in the new series of Luther as well. So it's a brilliant cast, and World's End, can't fault the cast at all. Brilliant cast.
And there was some surprisingly good action in it as well. The
action scenes were brilliant.
I was actually really see that toilet scene again. This is annoying.
We'll just say toilet scene.
There's a toilet scene, and I was this is pure.
And it's not about somebody taking a big massive toilet.
It's not about actual like shit.
I was like really, really good fighting. I was like, this is really quite enjoyable to watch. And there's a couple of scenes like that where there's actually really good action.
What I will say is Nick Frost kicks ass in it. I think he's brilliant.
Oh, he's a hard bastard.
And I think again, maybe
there's something totally different from any of the other ones.
Well, see, that is clearly something they were going for. It's total role reversal, because in the other two, Nick Frost has been the kind of stupid guy and
comedy guy.
Yeah,
just there for comedy.
And it's definite role reversal. He's the more kind of straight laced.
I think he's actually a really good actor. I think he'd go on to do some good stuff.
I think they're both brilliant.
No, I think definitely.
I love them.
But what I was going to say, what else was I going to say there? There was loads of wee nods in it, and there's loads I've read about that. I've actually stopped reading, so I want to watch it again to try and spot them.
What hidden things?
Just loads of hidden things. Loads.
See, I think that's true of probably all three of those films. It's the same as Spaced as well. I think that they
loads of nods
pay kind of homage to so many things that they just they will kind of put wee hidden things in for fans to discover, like all the geeks.
Fan Street, and it's
all the geeks to
see the Puggy machine. You see it for a split second, but it makes the same noise as it did in Hot Fuzz, and there's one in Shaun of the Dead as well. I think it's the same Puggy machine.
What, does it make a kind of distinctive noise?
It's like the Puggy tune that it plays.
Right.
But I noticed, like, I watched Shaun of
What is the tune?
I can't remember. I watched Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz like the night before I went to see what was in, and I noticed they were both in the Puggy machines were both in that. So
So then, I guess if we're talking about ratings,
rating for World's End, I'd give it an 8 myself.
So you would give the first two a 9. You were saying you give that an 8. You were saying you were giving the first two. How do you rate the first two?
I'm going to revise it.
Here we go.
We revision here
because when you were saying about in relation to what you thought of Pacific Rim to relate what you
don't need it.
I wasn't doing a comparison, but I was just thinking of enjoyment that I got.
But that's what I'm saying. So when I think of enjoying World's End, which I did a lot, I wouldn't give it an 8 or a 9. I would give it a 7.
Right. Okay.
And give Hot Fuzz a 5 and Shaun of the Dead a 6.
Whoa. That's fucking shocking.
That is brutal, isn't it?
But it's all a
terrible rating would be like 1 and 2.
No, it's not. It's not a bad. It's not a bad rating.
It's not a bad film. It's just average.
I would personally give Shaun of the Dead an 8. I don't know. I'd probably give Hot Fuzz a 7, and I'd maybe give World's End an 8. I'd maybe put it on par with Shaun of the Dead.
So I think we're all pretty much in agreement with
apart
World's
from
End.
Ian thinks it's the weakest of the three.
No, I still gave it the same rating as you.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, sorry.
But it's all subjective because I enjoy this.
It's just interesting.
I mean, regardless of the opinion is, it's a really good film.
Aye.
And I would definitely
recommend
seeing it.
Definitely. And see the action in it fills me with a lot of anticipation and knowing it'll be alright because he's going to be doing Ant-Man, the next Marvel film, Edgar Wright. So that puts me stead because I already knew he was good because they done Scott Pilgrim. I loved Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and there's action in that, and he's good at action.
I mean, the action in Scott Pilgrim was
cartoony, but it's still.
It's like a game, but it is. I suppose that's the point of Scott Pilgrim, but
it's CGI. That's what he's going to get used to with a Marvel film. He's going to be doing. So it's going to be a lot of CGI. So a lot of people would maybe wonder. He does a lot of character stuff in Spaced and Shaun of the Dead. How's he going to cope with this big fucking giant Marvel movie?
I'm sure he'll be able to pull it off, man.
I think he's a brilliant director. Anything I've watched of his I've loved, and it's what's Spaced. I've not seen his first film, Fistful of Dollars.
Do you think they should do? I know this is a common thing.
Another Spaced
that people
series.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want it. I don't think he could ruin it. I don't think he's got it in him to ruin it. I think he'd only make something good. But with it,
I don't think they could do it because
I'd want him to leave it.
It's been too long, and in my head, I like to think that
it is what it is, and
leave it. Tim and Daisy have settled down somewhere. Together. And I don't know. And
potentially doing another one would spoil that.
I just I think it's too long.
I don't even care for it that much, and I don't even want them to do it.
It's a TV show I could watch over.
Whoa. So how would you rate Spaced?
We're talking out of 10s.
We're talking. This is getting done in this ratings. It's been brought in with a vengeance, man. So what would you give Spaced
overall? Not the two series.
Just in general, and not specific
episodes or series. Just the whole thing. Your entire
series.
Enjoyment of the whole Spaced.
Wow. Controversial. I'm scared. I'm scared now of my opinion.
I'm getting my chib in the equipment ready.
Hurry up.
6.5.
Fuck off! Are you actually serious?
Oh my god, it's one of the most.
Are you actually serious?
Love it. It's perfect.
6.5.
It's so close to perfect. I could watch it over.
I don't own it. I've seen it maybe twice in completion, maybe.
That's really quite sad, I think. Actually, it actually is. I just think that
I watch it at least once every 6 months.
I contemplated buying another copy because my copy's all done in.
I wanted the American
I would do that for something.
The American one's got the Quentin Tarantino and Kevin.
What do you think about that? What do you think about that? Quentin Tarantino loves it.
Aye, so that's cool that he likes it. I'm always interested in his opinion. Like it's interesting.
And he totally disagrees with you. Quentin Tarantino says you're a dick.
So if the two of you were to have a conversation about Spaced, he'd be like, "Who is this guy? Who is this guy? He likes my movies. What is he doing? I don't ever want him to watch any of my movies ever again."
Oh my god!
Your dreams would be shattered. Like your one meeting with Quentin Tarantino would just
I've
go
already met
tits
him.
up.
So get around you.
You've not met him.
I touched his hand and
I was there. You groped him. That's not meeting someone.
And you saw yourself.
You totally groped him. I was there, man. That's not.
We're kind of getting off track a wee bit here.
Anyway,
so Space
is not a 6.5.
What would you give it?
Personally, I'd give it an easy 9. I think it's
close. It's close to perfect as a TV show.
I love it so
much.
Why
are you scared to give it a 10?
I would nothing's perfect.
I know.
I don't think I could.
Something would need to be flawless.
But what? I'm just curious, and I think something you can give a 10 because it's not about saying it's perfect, it's about saying you can't enjoy it anymore.
Well, it's perfect for me, so I suppose you could give it
if you give it a 1, a 10 is... You can't never use a 10. You can't say that nothing's perfect because nothing is perfect.
You just mentioned them. Pulp Fiction's a 10 for me as a film.
9 for me, but
it's a really good film.
For me, you can improve anything. You can take what a part of a series of Spaced or scene in Pulp Fiction that was maybe just good and do something else mental.
Spaced was amazing.
But Space doesn't need it. And by your opinion, Pulp Fiction doesn't need it, and that's, I suppose, the purpose of talking about things like that. Is
because I would address a couple of things in Pulp Fiction. It's by no means perfect.
Nah. But that's your opinion, so
no, it's fact.
I'll give you your opinion, Chris Hurley, and you'll abide by it. So Pulp Fiction's a 10, right? Stop. End of. Right. Next topic.
I can't get my head around that with Spaced, man.
I know. Tell us what you thought of Spaced. Are Edgar Wright's films?
No, Spaced.
Spaced and specifically Spaced.
I can't even. I mean,
what did you all think of Spaced?
Like, fair enough.
I love it.
If people think that stuff's overrated,
I'm not even saying it's overrated. My enjoyment is nowhere near as high.
There's so much.
It just appeals to me so much.
There's so much in it. Like,
it's like he loves all the stuff that I love.
Exactly.
The characters love all the Star Wars, zombies,
he's a pure geek,
games.
And he's like, and it's genuinely funny. And
takes
it's
a piss out of stuff that I love.
The pure Resident Evil episode and everything.
That's what spawned Shawnee did. That's why they done it. They done that episode. They shot it and they went, "This is fun. Let's do a kind of zombie."
This is grim, absolutely grim, man. I feel depressed.
Gonna get him in.
Right, anyway, so what else are we going to talk about?
Other films.
Other overrated rubbish.
What other films have there been?
I've seen Wolverine.
Oh, sorry, Graham.
Right.
Yeah, you've seen Wolverine.
That's right.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
Unfortunately, we haven't seen it.
I was going to go today, but...
We wouldn't spoil it anyway. If the three of us had seen it, we wouldn't sit
it's a bit too early, I suppose, to spoil it.
And I wouldn't spoil it anyway, but...
I think it was just out yesterday, yeah?
Yesterday, aye.
Thursday
came out.
It was a weird... It was Thursday for some reason here. It's normally
so
Friday.
2 days ago it came out.
Just by chance, I was able to see it on the first day, and...
Again, I had to see it first, aye. I had to see it first. I had to see it before me and Chris, aye. I had to see it before me.
Where was my invite? Where
was my invite, actually?
Actually, I did get invited, to be fair. I just couldn't go. So.
But after the original X-Men trilogy was got progressively worse to 3.
Aye.
Yeah.
And then the first Wolverine was terrible as well.
I actually didn't think it was...
Oh, shut up. It was fucking rank rotten.
I didn't think it was terrible.
Even my dad came out and said that was poor.
It was not the worst film I've seen by any means, if it was happening. But it's...
It is poor.
It is poor.
For a character Wolverine, who's a brilliant character.
Who we know is so good as a character and as an actor.
It should have been so much better.
In this... And again,
I'm not saying that it's a good film because it's, but I wouldn't say it's absolutely dreadful.
And they ruined Deadpool as well.
They really did ruin Deadpool in that.
They did ruin Deadpool.
It was such an amazing character.
They had so much potential and they just.
But
fair enough.
But on the flip side of that, though, this one is far superior. It's still.
I've heard it's not brilliant. But
it's not
a lot better.
It's not flawless. There's things in it you would maybe change, think, oh, that could be altered a bit. But in general, if you're of the opinion of getting progressively worse before and not liking Wolverine, the original I should say, you'll go into this and you'll definitely like it a lot more.
Was the story good?
I mean, again, because I'm not Wolverine's some of the comics that I have touched on before and I have read some, but again I don't
read this one.
I don't have a kind of concrete kind of relation to the source material, so I can't maybe comment quite the same. But I thought the story was cool and I love the setting of it being in Japan, obviously, but again, without going into the story of the comics and the film a bit more to spoil it, there's a large portion of Wolverine's tales are set in Japan, and I thought his setting was amazing. I loved that. Hugh Jackman was brilliant in it again. He's given some good kind of one-liners that he cracks and good patter, good
banter.
So he himself was brilliant. There was maybe more problems with supporting cast. That was a bit annoying.
I kind of thought, based on the trailer, that woman that he hangs about with, that has a weird shaped face. I don't know if this, her cheeks seem dead weird.
I know exactly who you mean. And actually, from the trailer,
she seemed slightly annoying in the trailer. I don't know. To be fair, she might be brilliant in the film.
I read she was quite good actually.
She is quite good in it, and she's got some good fighting scenes in it. And actually, the fighting scenes in it are brilliant.
So she's not the kind of weak supporting cast.
There's another woman in it that
is that the woman with the lizard tongue thing?
She
did seem kind of like that.
She just seems like not a great actress, but Hugh Jackman was brilliant, and I think it's strong enough, and the set pieces are really good. And that's one thing, talking about ratings, that to me is a strong 12.
Was it,
Aye.
Was it a 12A? And that was actually the bit...
And, I mean...
Probably more in that than there was in World War Z.
I get...
do you know, there's probably more blood in that than there was in World War... There's not a drop of blood in World War Z.
I mean, again, there's a kind of scene, there's like quite close-up blood, and even at the very start, have you both seen the trailer?
I've only seen the first
wee
trailer.
Bit. I've seen a trailer.
There's it's at the very, very start of the film, and it's in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler.
Oh, is it the bit where he's
in the well?
He's in the well, and
he's shielding him from the kind of bomb.
His body gets all burnt and stuff.
And just like you see that a bit more in depth, and it looks brutal, and obviously he heals, because that's his thing. He heals from these things pretty quick, but the makeup on it and looked brilliant, and the injuries he sustained and whatever, really, really cool. But and there was like kind of a bit of swearing in it, and I don't know. It was a good strong 12A rating. I know they're not going to do a 15 or an 18 Wolverine by any means, but I thought for what they had, for what they've worked from before, thought really, really quite decent.
So with the last Wolverine film, how would you have rated that? Just rating everything.
You
bear in mind it was pretty poor. Yeah. That's
because it wasn't diabolical. It didn't.
It was just quite poor.
I'd say a 3. I don't think I could put myself through watching it again.
What would you say for the new one?
That Wolverine.
If I'm giving that a 4, this was much better. And I came out of it actually enjoying it and thinking about it. I would give it a solid 7.
That's really good.
Cool. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Solid 7.
I think I'll probably see it tomorrow.
And I think
I might.
I think that's one thing. I think you two will probably be in close agreement with that. I don't imagine.
Is the directing good next? It's James Mangold, isn't it?
Aye, and he's solid in it, and it's like some of the set pieces in the. I suppose it's maybe.
So I seen the trailer, and the train bit didn't look. I was like, I don't know if that's gonna.
That looked actually really fake. Like,
but I've heard actually that it was quite cool. But
it just looked very kind of green screen.
It
very
does,
obviously.
It seems pulled off very well. Like, but again, I suppose it's better for you to see it first and then disagree or agree sort of thing. But I enjoyed it.
Cool.
Nice one.
So I think that's the kind of films.
I don't think I've seen anything else.
I mean, I've not really seen anything else. Yeah, I haven't seen anything else. I don't think. I was trying to think. I don't know if
have you bought any films and watched them?
The only film that I've actually bought is ABC's Death.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Did that come out? I didn't know that came out.
And you watched it on Netflix,
I watched it on
didn't
Netflix.
Because I saw it at Fright Fest last year, and I was going on about it so much to the both of you, and you specifically, Christopher, and you can't see this, can't wait for you to see this, and the Blu-ray was delayed a bit, and
it was really quite crazy.
There's millions of talking points because
each one's so completely different, and that's the kind of beauty of it, and also the downfall of it is because it doesn't have any. It doesn't have any structure because it is
short stories.
It is an A to Z, like each letter of the alphabet, and each letter's not even 5 minutes.
Some of them aren't even stories. It's just like wee clips.
Some of them are actually quite long though, and I found it was the longer ones that were actually the better ones.
There's no wraparound story, which again I quite liked. I was glad they didn't with ABC's of Death. I'm glad they didn't feel like they had to put an overall forced story to bring them together.
Like VHS was...
Which worked cool for it though.
But
there was less stories there.
That's the weakest part of VHS, is their kind of wraparound full story.
But with ABC's, again, like you say, you could talk about each one individually in a certain way, but just it's a great format for a film to do, is like, and especially in a horror theme. Some were terrible, some were brilliant, some were average.
See, the problem for me is, and I think I've said this to you, is that I kind of think that the bad films, the bad stories outweighed. I think there were more bad parts than there were good. But the good parts were... I don't even know if I should call them good, because they are really messed up, a lot of them.
It really pushes the boundaries for like what you would expect to see, and like...
I'm genuinely surprised that got passed uncut for what's in it. There's some really... It does, like you say, it does kind of push the limits, I think. There are some very questionable things in there.
Is it as bad as some of the scenes in a Serbian film, did you say? I'd say Serbian film's more graphic. I mean,
a Serbian film is definitely more graphic. I mean, the uncut version of a Serbian film is horrific to watch.
And it's not as bad as that.
It's nowhere near. And there isn't a film, in my opinion, that's as bad as a Serbian film uncut. A Serbian film cut, bear in mind it's been cut by a substantial amount.
Is it 6 minutes?
It's probably not that bad.
But it still hints at it, and I suppose that it's the L for Libido in ABC's of Death that
L for Libido is
that certainly pushes the boundaries.
Basically,
is that the one where the guys have to sit and watch stuff?
Yeah, the L for Libido is basically a kind of, I guess, a sex thing where guys have to sit and
masturbate.
Yeah, masturbate furiously.
Whoever ejaculates.
But
first.
again,
to what's progressively more worse and
because it starts out pretty tame.
There's just like a regular looking, plain looking naked.
But then
woman.
there's like, oh my god, actually I just remembered there's the woman that has a stump, and she takes it off her artificial leg and then pleasures herself with her own artificial foot. Oh my god, it was the worst.
And
then it actually gets worse.
Aye.
And then if you fail to, because it's you against another guy, if you fail, then
if the other guy
die
first,
pretty.
You get a big spike up through your arse,
through your balls and your arse, and right up through your neck, and
right up to your top of your skull, pretty much.
So,
it's a big.
It's a pretty, but again, some of them are really tame. They're by no means all that extreme.
Some of them are kind of comedic.
And see, I find the majority of them quite like that.
They are kind of.
And that was where it kind of was a bit disappointing for me, is that I thought the majority of them were kind of just making it a wee bit jokey,
especially with the dark imagery of the cover. You're like, it's going to be all dark.
See, because I thought, when I think about my favourite ones, D for Dogfight
definitely
is a brilliant one, and it's very dark. It's shot really well, and there's no speech in it, and it's all slow motion.
There's noise and there's sound there, but there's no...
Yeah, there's like slowed down shouting, so you can't really understand anything that's been said. But I would say D for Dogfight is horrific as it is probably Libido, because
L for Libido is really well filmed and it's well done.
It has a story, I guess.
It does
come. It has a beginning, middle, and end. It does come to a conclusion,
and
then for me XXL, which is horrific.
Oh, that one was horrific. I remember that now. Oh my god!
I felt quite queasy watching
it. That.
You do. You feel, I think that to me is brilliant. That the amount of horror films that we've all seen and that we still watch, to have that feeling, which I did as well when I saw it for the first time, I was like ready to bolt.
I think XXL is the most graphic.
And just for people who don't know or don't have a clue what we're talking about, the XXL is like a kind of a larger lady, shall we say?
And I find this ridiculous. Just before you go on it, she is walking about town and everybody's going, check out that fat piece of crap. I'm like, nobody does that. And she's walking about. I think it's like French. I think she's walking about France, and it's like, oh yeah, lose some weight. And I'm just thinking, where does she live? Who are these people? Why is everyone so horrible?
People do comment like that in life though. Like people comment on people who are like.
It's just like
morbidly obese people,
but it just seems like that's one journey home for her. Is like about 10 people stop and saying, "By the way, you're a fat mess," and I just think that's like so extreme. Anyway,
so to get on, she watches adverts on the TV a bit,
and it's everywhere. Like there's advertisements.
It's just real life. All you've seen in the papers is,
and that's why I thought it was a really good.
It was a message, and
there's a really good message there about like kind of body
morbid. I don't think you're really going to learn much from it. To be fair,
you're not going to play that to young kids who are like obsessed with body images in magazines and on TV, and it's going to have a positive effect on that because it's just going to disturb them. But I think for
some like extreme method of weight loss,
for somebody like us, and she goes and takes like a bread knife and starts just like
slicing bits,
cutting bits of her flesh off, and
then she takes the saw thing.
It's the carving knife.
Carving thing.
Kind of carver.
She just starts hacking into her sides and stuff.
Oh, that bit's she's standing in the shower. And
then when she comes out
at the end, and it's
I don't want to say, but
it's just fucking horrific. It's horrible.
I really enjoyed that one, just because it was.
It feels weird to say I enjoyed it.
There was only a few I enjoyed. I wouldn't buy it and watch it. So there's too many that I didn't like.
I would agree with you. There's too many that aren't that great. as opposed to the ones that are great.
In the cinema atmosphere, though, I wish you had been there for that, because that was brilliant. See, watching that with an audience,
I can imagine that.
It would be quite funny to see the reaction, because see, F is for fart. I couldn't stop laughing. And it was the way it was delivered in such a serious tone,
and it wasn't.
It wasn't as if it was a.
Do you know what one I
couldn't even get my head around it.
And I don't know what you should think, is the wife of Young Buck, and it was the kid who was like,
that was horrible.
The kind of paedophile janitor.
Oh, he was licking the boy sweat off of a bench. Oh my god, man!
And like that was Jason Eisner that done Hobo with a Shotgun, and I think he's a great filmmaker, and that looked brilliant. And I thought that was quite cool, and it was like,
I don't know, I mean,
there was a bit of a story there in the sense of what was happening, and he got his kind of revenge, and he felt.
Did he though? Because I thought it was weird, like how, like, I don't really want to say too much, but I mean,
I liked Wife for Young Buck a lot.
So which is your favourite? I'd probably say Dogfight. I felt it had an actual good story. It felt like it came in a kind of full circle, and it was shot so well.
Even A for Apocalypse is totally crazy, and it was the first one. And
it just runs in the room, hacks him.
Aye, and it's like,
I was like, what are you doing?
And you then find out she's been trying to poison him and stuff, and I just think that's why I just liked it in general so much, because I love that idea.
I love those type of films. Like I love that, and I love VHS, and I'm looking forward to
like
VHS and ABC's Death are both getting a sequel, so I would love to see better quality in ABC's, because I genuinely think there were too many directors that probably weren't taking it that seriously. I mean, the worst example is M is for Miscarriage, which is probably just it's a total waste of time.
And the one with Parrot as well, stupid.
I actually didn't mind that one.
Nah, it was stupid.
It was. I'm not going to argue it was stupid. M is for Miscarriage was just a waste of time, though. I mean, the Parrot one was at least trying to do something a wee bit funny, a wee bit stupid. The M is for Miscarriage was just a waste of time. It was like the most laziest thing.
What was the one with the kind of garbage collector killer guy?
Oh, it was like B is for Bigfoot, I think. It's like
shite. That was
shite.
I was like, what's the point in that? It's just like any other hacker movie, slasher movie. Why do something original?
But that's true of a lot of them.
I was like,
and that's why I would love to see.
One. See the one in the kind of futuristic town.
How did they do that in $5,000?
That was talked about at the Fright Fest, because a lot of the directors were there for different segments, and
because the thing was that they had a $5,000 budget,
but then complete artistic freedom.
But then freedom to do what they want.
What they were saying was like, because then you could say the same argument for that being under $5,000. What did Ty West do for $5,000? He pocketed £4,990, spent £10 on getting a woman to come in and put a punch on a toilet.
I know.
That is
true. That is true.
But what they were saying for that one and any other kind of one that used a higher budget was just because they were pulling on like a lot of favours, equipment that people had that they knew, so there was not.
Because I think
in a sense.
I was quite impressed by that one for that reason.
Put the most into it, but it was still
I would actually think that was probably one of the weakest.
Aye,
I thought it was terrible. I thought it was pretty poor. It was well done.
I don't know. It's good for $5,000.
I think I kind of liked it because of the effort that was put in relative to the rest of them. It felt like there was more on show, and so it made me feel like it was very different from all the rest of them, because the rest of them were fairly traditional. Well, a lot of them are fairly traditional in the kind of horror elements, whereas that was a kind of sci-fi thing, and it just seemed quite cool.
And I think both, like again, VHS and ABC's of Death, with their sequels, are, because the start was such a good idea, there was a bonus up to both be really good. And Gareth Evans of The Raid is
he doing a bit on the VHS?
VHS too. And he's going to be at Fright Fest in August in London with Jason Eisner. And a bunch of other people, and it's just I can't wait to see the both sequels.
I can't wait for VHS too. Even my dad's seen the trailer and he's like, because I showed him that I bought the Blu-ray of VHS, and I gave it mum and dad to watch. My dad doesn't like horrors or scary movies, he's just not into them. He likes sci-fi, and I think he enjoyed it because it was a bit different. And I thought it was cool to got something in. Then he goes on into cool quite a lot. He seen the trailer for the second one. He's like, "Did you see the trailer for this? It looks really cool." I was like, that's cool. My dad's seen it, 'cause that's not something you'd normally do. So I'm actually
VHS. I thought was really good. I think I'd actually say I preferred VHS to ABC's.
By far for me, anyway, definitely.
I love what both of them do, though. They both do similar things, and I love that films like that exist now, because since the days of like Creepshow and stuff like that, you don't really have things like that.
And I think that's another reason that I just love the idea and the community behind things like ABC to Death, because it's like a Draft House Films kind of production, and I think they had the Alamo Draft House in Texas, the cinema chain that started, and they've then progressed in other places. They kind of pioneered that, and a lot of the directors that worked for them have had films that have shown at festivals in Texas and Austin that have then become friends, and they built up a kind of family, and I like the kind of community spirit and the kind of horror scene with the directors even themselves, so they're all friends and they work well together, and I think that's what makes it a good, again with VHS as well, it's the same kind of community spirit and people get behind it, and I just think it's really cool.
So then what would you, based on that,
we need to wrap up on ABC's, talked about it for a while.
What would you give it?
Rating. ABC's.
Graham, what would you give it?
I'm thinking.
Hurry up.
People can't see me thinking, obviously.
I'll say mine's.
Right, okay. I know you weren't too keen, so what would you give it?
A 5.
Ian? 5, right,
That's
okay.
because I enjoyed some of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
I think I would... It's weird though, because I'm saying there's more weak than there is...
That's why
than there is good, so I potentially...
By definition,
you're just reviewing the good ones then?
I should... Well, no, as a whole...
You've got to judge it as a whole.
Because it is a whole...
I did enjoy it.
I'm thinking a 7.
I'd probably give it about a 6 or a 7, yeah.
But then again, if you reviewed each one individually, it would seem very different, because there was like, I would give like your dogfighting at like 9s because they were brilliant, but then there's some I would give close to 0.
Yeah, definitely.
So
agree.
It's like,
definitely.
I always rate it kind of on, would I watch that again? And I wouldn't go through.
I think I probably would watch ABC's again.
I think it's a brilliant, because it is snippets. You can go and let's watch the first half.
Yeah, you go. Oh, that's right. It's only 3 minutes long, whatever.
So I think, and I've now seen it twice in full, and I would happily watch that again. So I'll say a 7 then.
So
you said 5. What did you say, Christopher?
6 or 7.
6 or 7.
Undecided, but run about that.
I know. I can't. I'm indecisive.
That's cool.
5, 6, 7.
Right. So is there much else?
I was just going to go into news now and see what news there was. I don't know what a dick I sounded there. Aye. So there's been
loads of wee snippets in news, isn't there?
Because there's been Comic Con happening. Comic Con was like a week or 2 ago. So there's been quite a bit of news coming out of that. So I was just going to go through the Conjuring's out in a week or next week.
I think it's Friday.
It's Friday 2nd.
It's amazing that that's doing so good in the States, man.
And
can't wait to see it again.
The company behind it, New Line, are already ordered a sequel to it already, because even before it was in America, they wanted a sequel because of the buzz surrounding it, and all the kind of reviews and news coming out was positive.
So yeah, I find that quite disappointing. I haven't seen The Conjuring, but
I think
I find it quite disappointing that it's money. It's money at the end of the day. It's just money.
It's a sad state of affairs, but it is just money.
But I would like to see a sequel following the story of the two characters, the two actual, because it's just based on a true story and all their files that they
they have case files.
Yeah, case files. So
yeah,
I'd like to see a couple.
I suppose that it's based
more.
on. Yeah,
I know
like to.
The Conjuring was so good. I think they could do a good sequel, but there's no need for it.
No, definitely. I totally agree, and we're trying to get away from sequels in this day and age. But I would something I would still welcome. I wouldn't go out actively and say, oh, I want a sequel now. But I would, if they said, oh,
and again, I would love to be proved.
Just as long as they don't continue with that family and make up a story rather than taking bits of.
See, that's potentially what they might do,
because they've taken what was saying a true story, but it's loosely based on a true story, and they kind of James Wan added bits on it.
And I don't think he'll be doing it, and like, he would need to do it for me, because he's been quite really getting insane plaudits from everyone. Like, even imagine like Wes Craven, like saying to James Wan, "Well done, great film, really enjoyed it." I mean, you don't need any more validation in life as a director to have Wes Craven say that, and it's just
not horror director.
So
what else? Clerks 3 script's finished. It should be shooting, but there's another thing we added to that with Kevin Smith, because I follow a lot of Kevin Smith, because I'm a Kevin Smith fanboy.
Clerks 3?
Clerks 3, because he'd been saying it's going to be his last ever film he's doing. They just wanted to finish it with what he started and finish that story arc that he's done. So he wrote it a couple of months ago, but just saying they've finished writing the script and they've passed it to the studio. I think it was whoever had the rights. It was to look at it and see if they're going to go ahead with it. So they'll be shooting next year, I think. But because I listen to these podcasts, they'd actually, not the podcast, like our podcast, we just talk ramble rubbish. Well, him and Scott Moser, his producer, were on, and they were reading a news that was on, like a Craigslist kind of thing.
Yeah.
Craigslist. As I say, what's the one over here? Gumtree. There was an advert on Gumtree for a guy who was looking for a flatmate in England, but he's like, I'll let you live there for free, rent free, everything paid bought for you, but I want you to dress up as a what is it, a manatee or something, or a sea lion or something like that.
So weird.
No, the ones with big tusks, what do you call them?
Walrus.
Walrus. It's a walrus, aye. I want you to dress up as a walrus, and because it reminded me of a time I was stranded off in an island with just a walrus as a friend, and I missed those times.
Is this your advert, Christopher?
You don't want to live with that kind of person.
And that's a true story. As a guy put the advert on. So
oh my
Kevin
God,
Smith,
that's so weird.
we were just talking about it in this podcast for the full things like, what if we made a movie and done this? This is who I'd have in it and all that. And after it, he's actually wrote a script, and he's got a studio who agree if everything's done and they're shooting in next month. And
that's amazing.
Quentin Tarantino's in it. He's
acting wise.
Aye, he's acting in it.
Oh God! Oh no! Here we go.
Michael Parks is going to be.
I like Michael Parks.
He's going to be a guy. Quentin Tarantino's going to be one of the main characters in it.
See, that's what I love about community, like spirits between like people who like respected filmmakers like Kevin Smith, and we haven't done Red State. Obviously, Parks was in that, and Tarantino loved it. And I love the fact that like you've just said that he's had an idea, it's developed, and
just off the back of a podcast,
which is brilliant. Tarantino's in it, and Michael Parks is in it. I mean, that's brilliant. I love it.
Hopefully, we get Tarantino on our podcast.
He might be a future guest. You never know.
Tell you you're a fucking prick for not liking space.
And I'll tell him I don't like it.
But the thing about this is it's going to be really dark. Says that if you thought Red State was dark, this is going to be dark as hell. It's going to be actually like sewing a guy into a tusk suit and fucking.
Oh really?
Surgically fucking.
As a film, it sounds funny as an idea.
No, it's dark.
So they're going for dark. That's weird.
It sounds like. I don't even know what it could. I don't even know. I don't even know what it could be.
I'm really intrigued by it because I thought he'd done well with Red State. I thought Red State was brilliant.
I really enjoyed Red State.
And
well, we can keep our eyes out.
Okay, I'll let you know on it. But what else have we got? Right, so at Comic Con with the Godzilla poster. Did you all see that?
Yeah, it's like a tail, was it not?
It was kind of like the outline of the old
like helicopters,
the old school Godzilla, literally crushed buildings.
Wait, I only saw one that was like.
I did see two.
A bit of a tail, and there was like a helicopter.
It kind of goes up his back, and it's like kind of the spikes sticking out his back, and like crumbled building.
There was good.
It was quite cool.
It's set up. But Comic Con had a lot of good little news, and like you said, there was a lot of maybe panels that were really good, but that was not for being good for news. That was good for having like the characters of X-Files on the stage, Breaking Bad on the stage, at Game of Thrones, all the pure amazing shows that are on.
I mean, I couldn't really care less about posters. If posters doesn't make a good movie, it could be an absolute pile of crap.
But I collected posters for quite a number of years, and like I've still got tons of them in my room.
Posters excite me sometimes when I see a cool poster.
I mean, that Edge of Tomorrow poster, how fucking cool is that?
The Edge of Tomorrow, I was going to bring it up.
I don't even think. I just think that all looks.
It's just the suit looks cool. I don't know if the movie might be terrible, but
I'm just commenting on the poster as it is. The poster looks brilliant,
and apparently the footage looked good as well. Apparently, it's showed footage from it. But it does sound an awful lot like Source Code, kinda.
Oh, story wise, you mean in general?
Like a military officer is killed in action and gets stuck in a time loop and forced to relive fatal combat over and over. Source Code.
That is exactly the plot for Source Code.
Although I think it'll be different. The only difference is that in Source Code,
it's not about the combat
to solve something.
He's put into real life though.
I know, but
it's effectively the same thing.
Effectively, but who knows? It might be cool. I like Emily Blunt. I like Tom Cruise. Don't know who's directing it though. But
I really liked Oblivion. Not that it's similar, but
I did really like Oblivion. Actually, I was quite surprised by it.
I'll be getting that in Blu-ray.
I'll definitely be buying that as well.
I think that would actually be quite a good Blu-ray. It looked really nice.
Looked nice, eh? Really nice, eh?
Lovely.
Brilliant soundtrack as well.
Really good soundtrack, actually. Aye.
Really good.
Really, really good.
Really good.
It feels like we've just talked about movies this week. It's bizarre.
I know. There's been a lot of movies. There's not been a lot of game stuff.
I feel like on the game front, there hasn't been anything released. I think this is you kind of going through the slump just now.
There's always a slump.
But I think me and you said that before, Chris. Sometimes that's a good thing.
It's good. It is good because it means at the end of August you've got
So much,
Splinter
man.
Cell,
Saints Row 4,
and I kind of want to get the Bureau, which is the XCOM declassified thing, and then obviously in September you've got Grand Theft Auto, which will be
That's just all he's going to play for a while.
huge, and then you're right into
next generation.
Yeah, September, October you'll have probably really good releases. I think Battlefield's at the end of
Well, the
October.
October ones you're not going to get at the end of October for the old ones. You're going to hold off for the new consoles, aren't you?
Yeah, probably.
So I'm not going to buy Battlefield on Xbox 360 and buy it on Xbox One. So there is. I think you're right. There's games I would maybe wait.
I don't think there's really much. Was there much game related news at Comic Con?
Xbox had a big bit at it, and I don't think Sony had anything at it. I think Xbox and Microsoft did.
Killer Instinct will still just be the same gameplay that they showed off at.
No,
that's what I'm saying. It's nothing really.
I think the next.
I think there was anything new at it.
The next big thing is probably Gamescom, and it's actually quite surprising that Microsoft are having an actual press conference at Gamescom because they haven't really done that before.
It's been getting progressively bigger each year, Gamescom,
which is really cool. I like that.
So remember, the year I went was the second year of its existence.
What year did you go? Was it a couple of years ago?
It was 2007.
Was it as long ago as that?
Maybe 8. Was it 8? That was a good. It was maybe 4 years ago. No, it was only 4 years ago. Actually, it was maybe 2009. And it was still big, but it was absolutely heaving.
And what date is that? Is it the end of August?
It's always in like the bank holiday weekend, August, kind of round about that time.
That's cool. I'm looking.
So I'm hoping for, if Microsoft are doing a press conference there, I'm hoping for Well, apparently they've still got some announcements to make.
And all the consoles are playable at it.
Well, that's cool, and they'll have like their hopefully launch lineup and release date stuff.
I want to release date. That's what I'm wanting because I'm going to take more time off and work because I've got a week to use, and
I'm actually the same.
October, November's the only time I can actually take it and work. So
well, I mean, hopefully by the time that we do another podcast, there might be some gaming related news. It feels like it's just been movies this week that it's been quite.
Like you say, it's not.
It's good that there's just been quite a lot of movies to talk about.
The only game thing is the Steam sale was on, and I know me and you were excited about that.
It's actually depressing to think how much money has been spent.
I'm going to guess that I've spent 70-80 quid.
Well, I think I've spent about 40 odd.
Oh,
I had about 66 pounds already on my Steam account, and I spent about 40. I'm going to keep some because I'm going to get Outlast is coming out in the beginning of September, which I think is going to be the big horror game of this year that everybody's going to be talking about.
Which looks brilliant, man.
That's out at the start of September, and I'll definitely be getting that. But I mean, the Steam sale, we can, there's so many things that I've bought on it that. There's just so many stupid things that I'll probably never play. Things that I've played and got really pissed off. Like Surgeon Simulator, I actually got past the first one.
Did you? How did you do it?
You were at my house when I did it.
I was with you.
Yeah, you were there.
Fuck, did you manage that?
It was like...
It was so funny, man.
I was so happy, like...
But how did you do it?
I'll need to show you sometime.
Was it really hard anyway?
It seems like the hardest game ever.
But it's so much fun. It's so much fun.
It's still really fun and it's really funny, but I was terrible at it.
I think I bought like 40 games.
That's crazy.
There's so many game packs. I bought like the Tomb Raider one for £8.
And they all have like 5 or 6 games within the pack.
The Tomb Raider one's got 9 in it alone. And I get
That's
Commando
crazy.
ones, Fallout, I get Dishonored. Oh, it's just so much.
So with that, I think that's pretty much us covered everything that we were going to talk about. I think if we have any comments or anything, I think the only comment that I've had was from a friend of the show, Mr. Ross. Should I say Ross McVeigh? I don't even know.
I don't think he'll be offended at you saying his full name.
He's gonna,
what's his name? Like Dr. Shakamoto or whatever on Instagram or something. And he raises a valid, like a really valid kind of worry about the podcast, like why we actually haven't talked about Trash Humpers or Tokyo Gore Police.
What's Trash Humpers?
Trash Humpers is a terrible film, to be fair.
Never heard it.
Like, you know how when you see these...
It's probably a good thing.
You know how when you see these films and they have these accolades on the front, where it was like, runner-up for best film at Toronto Film Festival or something like that. This one is like shown at Toronto Film Festival or like something like that. It has these...
Almost shown it.
It shown on a TV in a van outside in the car park.
Was admitted for submission. It was submitted to Cannes.
But it was...
I'd thrown it immediately.
It was just terrible. Like, it's just like... Ross is brilliant for having shit movies that are hilarious to watch.
But they're shit films that are enjoyable through that reason.
But that's a shit film that is
Sit and
just
watch with friends and
it's
stuff,
just
never
shit through and through. Like, and it's clearly
Is it a bit people who hump trash?
that is exactly, and I'm not even joking.
It's not even like a kind of play on words.
It's people that are dressed up as old, and I don't even know if it's meant to be old people or if it's meant to be kids that are dressed up as old people, but they go about shagging trees in bins. And then this weird woman teaches a guy.
Is that not Saturday night for you, Ian?
She puts like a razor blade.
It's every night.
She puts like a razor blade in an apple and says, "Oh, give that to your teacher." Or something. I can't remember. And it's just like a bunch of random stuff.
And Ross is good for that. Ross has got a good influence to kind of.
But
I
must
to
say,
call them good shit films.
I must say, it's bad that we haven't. Tokyo Gore Police is a tremendous film.
Loads of talking points for sure.
And I can't believe you've not seen it.
I'll need to get a hold of it.
I think we need to get.
But
Ross
that's the thing.
over.
Like,
we need to get a kind
I
of.
want to hear
a movie night where we watch stuff like that.
I'd love to hear if anyone had really good suggestions of. Well, not. I don't want to watch a shit movie. I don't want to watch like The Room or something like that. I want somebody to recommend.
Or The Happening.
To recommend a movie that's like a lot of people would say Tokyo Gore Police is a shit film. It's like a B movie. But it's such a fun movie.
So enjoyable.
Stuff like that, like Stupid Mad Mega Piranha versus fucking Kangaroosaurus or whatever.
The one Sharknado all of a sudden seems to be.
I know everybody's going.
Absolutely
They're doing a sequel for it.
Crazy hype about it, and I don't think there's millions of films like it.
I don't know if it's one of these pure hipster things where it's cool
It definitely is. Roger Corman's been making these films for decades upon decades before we were even born, and like for some reason this one just.
Yeah, I think it's just because it's cool to like films like that. So, but I don't know. I mean,
give us your suggestions of good shit movies to watch with your friends.
Yeah, because I always want to watch a shit movie.
And
but a good shit movie or any movie that I potentially haven't seen.
I always like to.
I'd love to talk about it.
And I'll watch anything good or bad, and just try and have a wee.
Apart from Avatar, which you still haven't watched.
You still haven't watched Avatar?
No, it's don't have any.
What a fucking bell end.
He's definitely not a man of his words. Let's put it that way.
You got to watch it for this podcast. You're going to review it.
No, he said to me, "Oh, see if we go see the King's Speech and it's actually really good, I'll watch Avatar." We walked out the King's Speech. He was like, brilliant, absolutely loved it. Gave him Avatar. He never bothered his ass to watch it. So he's not a man of his words.
Okay, we've got to watch it. For all the fans of the podcast that listen, you've got to watch it for them.
If 5.
What is that?
No.
Stop starting. No, there's no more conditions. I'm
not stuttering. If 10 people tell me to watch it from the podcast and I comment separately.
10, that's all.
10.
That's all it takes.
10 comments.
People.
But yous can't
comment. And it can't be any of your friends.
No, they can be, but you can't go on and tell people go and comment for that reason. I'm
actually going to start a Facebook page that is specifically about get Graham to watch Avatar.
Okay, and you have to do it only from listening to this. So if you're listening to this right now, you think it's stupid I've not watched Avatar, you think I'm a dick for not watching it, then
I'm not saying it's an amazing film, by the way. I'm just saying
I
enjoyed it. But you pride yourself on having seen everything.
I know your point on it is what you're saying, and I'm curious to see if people think it's stupid that I'm not bothered to watch it, because I just couldn't care less about it. But if 10 people tell me to watch it, separate people that's not us 3 that you don't go out and say to, then I will watch it.
Right, cool. That's
I think that says
everybody get commenting, for fuck's sake.
Pretty much covered everything. So
I think that'll be us for this week.
I think we're going to do one. I don't know when we're going to do the next one. I'd love to do one kind of soon-ish.
We can do one next week. I'm free next week, I think.
So I don't know. I mean, again, like right now, off the top of my head, I don't really know what we're going to do the next one about. So again, that would be brilliant if somebody says, "Please give us this topic that you want to talk about."
Well, Chris, you're hopefully going to gorge on Breaking Bad.
I kind of would. I would kind of like to maybe watch Breaking Bad before it starts back.
The 12th.
But I haven't watched a single episode of it.
It's doable.
See, in June I hadn't seen a single episode of Breaking Bad ever, and I've now watched 4 complete seasons, and it's still in July.
I'll look at it.
And that's your challenge for this week.
Is that going to be a podcast?
A weekly podcast
feature. We'll have a challenge.
Loving Breaking Bad as much as I do now, instantly so quickly, I would love to do a Breaking Bad special.
Because remember before it, you were like, "Oh, it's hyped a lot. I don't know if it will be as good as it is."
Basically, if I get it watched quickly, we can do a special. If I don't, then the two of you can do a special.
The reason why I do a special is because
just
Peter asked for us to talk about it on the show, and because the finale's coming up, so we want to. I've nearly caught up. Graham's nearly caught up, so we're just getting Chris to catch up.
Another friend of the show that's not shy of commenting. We've had like Last of Us comments were actually really good.
I know,
and stuff. So
more of that, please.
Definitely more of that.
More of the same. Any comments, much appreciated.
But until then, I'll.
We've got to love you and leave you, everybody.
Yeah.
Bid you a farewell.
I know.
So thanks again for listening.
GG.